Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the movement pattern where players stand up and move backwards moving into impact. Although there can be a number of reasons why a player may compensate in this way moving into the shot, today we're going to focus on the trail arm in transition and how that can lead to the compensation. Thanks once again for joining me. So if you're a player that stands up and backs up moving into impact, this could be a great video for you. As I mentioned in the intro, we're going to focus on the trail arm and how that leads or can lead to that compensation moving into impact. Before we get into the main content of the video though, this time of year is a great time to get clear on the movements that you want to improve leading into next season. It gives you the off season to work on your movement away from the golf course, and also just conceptually get clear on what you need to do to come out next year playing better, moving better, and be able to just score better and enjoy the season more. So if you're a player that wants to do that, the morning session with me where we spend 3 to 4 hours, depending on your schedule, doing the 3D, doing a baseline assessment is a great way to do that and a great way to get clear on your game so that through the winter, you're mindful of what you need to be doing to play better next season. Okay, so today looking at the trail arm in transition to help a player to stay down better and rotate better through the shot. And the specific pattern I have in mind, I've had a couple of players I've worked with recently where in transition, the forearm it really wouldn't accelerate in this manner in the downswing. So if you think of the right arm and how you'd want it to move in downswing, you really want the arm to straighten. And an intuitive way I want to show that is I've got a little band exercise set up here on the golf cart. If I just put my golf club down here, if you can imagine a cable pull in the gym where you want to create as much force as you can, obviously pulling down on the cable. I'm going to reflect that movement here with the band. I'm going to hold it just in my right arm. So imagine I'm at the top of the backswing position here and I want to put as much force going down into the ball as I possibly can. I'm going to allow that right arm to straighten pretty soon and then pull into impact. And you can see that when I do that as well, how my body almost wants to stay down. So very, very intuitive exercise here. All I've done is, as you can see, I've tied it to the golf cart there. Ideally, I'd probably tie it a little bit higher if I could. But essentially here, top of backswing, if I am there just pulling down on the band into impact, you can see that how my body wants to react, responding to the force that I'm putting into the band here. And as far as the trail arm movement, as soon as I'm kind of getting to about hip high, it's it's extended there at the elbow, okay? And I find a lot of players get into trouble with popping up and hanging back when they're almost trying to maintain this angle too long into the downswing. Some players, you'll actually see the angle between the forearm and the humerus here, you'll actually see it narrow in downswing. Now the influence that's going to have on the hand path is obviously make it very narrow, and that can very much lead to and will lead to a steep angle of attack moving into the ball. So that release and that stand up and release is a shallower. That's the compensation to allow the swing to essentially work. So that, as always, the stand up, the back up is what's making the swing work in response to how the player has moved in transition. So great little exercise there with the band. I love that one there. Going to kind of play around here. I've not done this. I'm just kind of going on the fly. I wonder if you can even kind of hold a club there and get a sense of that. I mean, you can. So really great exercise there. I'm kind of having an awareness of how I'd want the trail hand to maintain the pressure into the back of the club, and you can see the response that's having on my trail arm here. So you don't have to do it with the club as I did there, but essentially we're going to look at how can we get the hand that wide, how can we get the elbow more extended earlier in more extended the elbow joint earlier in the downswing for this kind of a player. And then from there we want that intuitive response where the body stays more down and rotates more open into impact. So after doing those rehearsals, that feels like I have to get there. So the arm is pretty straight by the time I'm, let's just say, moving into thigh high or my pocket. And then from there, I'm maintaining the pressure into the back of the club to get that rotation through. So when doing this with players, I like them to use a tee to begin, because I find that players can often get disheartened when they're hitting some when the misses are, let's just say your low point can be very much changed doing this, and you're going to then have to go through a relearning process to get the low point consistent, because in the past you've got the low point consistent by popping up and hanging back. So we're now removing that, and we're influencing this quite a good amount as well. So there's a chance you could hit all over. The low point's going to really change and be all over the place to begin with. So if we put it off the tee, it gives you that little bit of leeway to get used to just kind of getting the ball cleanly out the middle of the face, then slowly lower the tee, take the tee away. And that's just a really important process to go through, because when players are looking to improve, the biggest deficiency I see in them getting to where they want to get to is creating a scenario where they can actually be successful and have little wins and move on from there. Okay, so I'm on the tee here. I'm just going to go with that same feel there I had at the top of the backswing. When I get to thigh high, the arm's pretty straight, and then I'm rotating into impact there, maintaining the pressure on the back of the club. Exercise I've shown before here, really good one. So you can see here I'm about thigh high, putting my hand on the top of the shaft here, and I'm going to push into it and then move into impact, just to get a sense of how my body would have to rotate into impact there. And as I said, we're going to start small, so we may even do a little bit of a pause here. So we're going to go here, get into that position there, and then just turn through. And in that move there, I felt there wasn't really enough pull from the lead side as I'd like to coming into it. So in this position here, we've got to make sure we're getting that pull and that push. Great little exercise there that I have shared before for the club release through impact. But again, if you're a player that stands up and backs up, if I show you me doing this now, so the hand path now is much wider from here. You're going to have a much shallower move through. So even once you're here, just being intuitive of like, okay, how would I move to impact? We'd be more there. Very clear to me how much the lead shoulder is moving much more down and around, as opposed to kind of up and me staying very square to the golf ball. Okay, one more here. I'm going to take it nice and slow, because there really is no need to rush this. We're here. There we are there, nice and straight with that trail arm. Hit it a little thin there. Nothing wrong with hitting a couple a little thin, but it is mindful, or it's worth being mindful of where you want the lead hip to be at impact with something like this, because if you get two arms dominant here and we're not letting the lead hip turn into it, or the body turn into it, then we are going to see the right arm maybe take over. We're going to get an earlier release with the hands. So once again here, final one. We're up. I like where I've got the lead hip there with that one there. I like how the right arm is straight. Hit that one nice and clean. Okay, so do a lot of slow ones like that and slowly build on it. The how you do it is so important, as long as it needs to match the concept as well, and it needs to be personal for you.